MKY Cab presents Mental Health and Me, Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes Youth Cabinet ran an election for young people in 2017. In that election, young people were asked what issue was most important to them. Mental health was the second biggest issue for young people. Young people said things like,
"Not only is the management of these illnesses poor, awareness and abilities to recognise these in school is also poor and can lead to the advancement of such illnesses. I myself struggle with social anxiety and an eating disorder, and I'd like there to be a place for me and others who struggle in our society. I have a mental health issue and not a lot is done to help and support me. In school, we're ignored and just have to suffer. I do not think that there is enough help for young people with mental health issues. Often they're passed off as fake, but that just makes them worse until it gets too late."
So Milton Keynes Youth Cabinet created this film to get young people talking about mental health. It's okay to talk about our physical health, and it's okay to talk about our mental health too. We want more young people to talk about mental health and know that it's okay to get help when you realise you need it.
Let's get talking about mental health.
The brain train.
Imagine your brain was a railway track. In a normal brain, the brain train goes at a constant speed, stopping at every station. However, in the brain of a young person with a mental illness, it can speed up or slow down irregularly and skip stops. There is nothing wrong with this. In the brain of some people, the brain train doesn't stop at certain stations, or stays at certain stations longer. Some trains skip social skills stations, some trains skip personal space platform, and some trains skip imagination stop. Does this matter? No.
Jay's story.
When I was little, my brain train used to stay at Organisation Square. I used to take my books off the shelf and put them in a square. I used to line up my toy cars and dinosaurs too. My brain didn't stop at the social skills station. In foundation, I was brash and rude, and I didn't have many friends. I didn't like people. Some of the issues I still have today at 13 years old. I have Asperger's syndrome. It changes the course of my brain train. This isn't a problem though. I got help. Help does exist for brain trains who skip stops. If you tell a parent, teacher, or trusted adult that you think your brain train is skipping stops, then they can help you. They might take you to a doctor who can help your brain train to learn to stop. If someone you know might have a skipping brain train, talk to them. You can make the difference. Mental illness can't be prevented, but it can be helped. End stigma around mental illness today.
Sam's story.
Sam's primary story. The first time I knew there was something wrong with me, I was 11 years old. I distinctly remember the moment. I was lying on my bed and I realised what I should have realised years before. That no one else I knew experienced the same feelings of sadness and worthlessness as I did. And that it wasn't going to go away. My mental health issues began around the age of 6. No one can really know why it started so early. Maybe a childhood trauma, or it was something to do with my special needs called autism, which I really didn't know I had. Or maybe it was just bad luck, but I distinctly remember experiencing my OCD. Tapping out the special patterns on the back of car seats, having a set amount of steps to jump from the door to my bed, arranging my teddies just to keep me safe from the horrifying things on my bed, flipping light switches 8 times to stop the house catching on fire, and checking all the cutlery to prevent me or my family from dying of illness. Anything that got in the way of me performing these rituals would leave me with major nervousness. At the time, I didn't understand what these feelings were, or what panic attacks were, so I would spend all my lunchtime in the nurse's office, complaining of headaches, chest pain, and inability to breathe. This was my anxiety and panic attacks. When I turned 8, I was told I wasn't allowed in the nurse's office anymore. So I had to brave the teasing and the bullying. It was so hard to work out how to make friends. Many of them just thought I was weird. I had hardly any friends in primary school, and this upset me more.
Alex's story.
It started out as a good and normal friendship. It was around year 4 that I met Joe, and we became best friends. We would walk together, hang out together, and tell everything, including our deepest secrets to each other. We had a strong relationship. Our parents started arranging to go to each other's houses, and that made us both excited. Nothing much odd was going on. Towards the end of primary school, we drifted apart as my friend became closer to another person in our class. That's when things began to change. When we joined secondary school, we weren't in the same forms, but we still talked, but not as much as before. I started to feel left out and lonely. We would go shopping, but Joe would take my money. This did annoy me, but I tried to ignore it. I often felt used because I would be the last choice if Joe's other friends were busy. As the months went on, Joe and Ott would make fun of me and call me names continuously. I felt like no one would stick up for me. My mum said that I shouldn't be friends with Joe anymore, but I didn't want to be on my own. The bullying just got worse and worse. I started to miss school. I had enough, and I told Joe that I didn't want to be friends anymore. Joe was shocked, but the bullying continued, and I was told to die and move schools. I was alone for ages and tried to stay out of the way at breaks and lunchtime. I felt sad, depressed, and suicidal. My parents noticed that my mood changed and that I was withdrawn at home. I would isolate myself and felt very, very low. I would often feel upset and angry and would take this out on my family. But my parents supported me to go to the doctors, who referred me to CAMS. I spoke with a worker called Nick, who helped me to build my confidence and repair my relationship with my parents. My parents were supportive and caring and encouraged me to move schools. The best bit is my new school is amazing. Nice people, warm smiles, and absolutely no bullies. The bullying stopped and I haven't spoken to Joe since. It just made me feel better. Bullying affects mental health. I would recommend talking to an adult that you trust who can support you to get the right help.
Why is it important for young people to talk about mental health?
1 in 10 children and young people have a mental health condition. That's around 3 in every classroom. 1 in 4 people with acute mental health problems don't get seen by a professional. 96% of students deal with exam stress and anxiety, with 59% feeling pressure from their parents to do well, and 64% saying they have never received any support in dealing with exams.
Talk about the issues. Talk about mental health. It's okay to talk about your feelings. How can you help yourself have positive mental health?
There are things you can do to help yourself become stronger and more resilient, promoting personal positivity. Keep active and get your body moving. Keep your mind active, practice problem-solving games. Talk to people that you trust. Acknowledge your achievements and embrace them. Join youth groups and be social. Do things you enjoy. Talk to your friends, don't isolate yourself. Talk to your parents or carers and let them know how you feel. Be mindful and be in touch with your inner self.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
So when I was younger, I used to walk with my family to the bus stop to go to school, and that was perfectly fine until some older kids decided to become bullies and pick on me particularly, because sometimes I'd be walking on my own. And on the times where my mum was around, she would try and shout at them and tell them to go away, and or we'd try and ignore them and get to the bus stop and get on the school bus to go to school. And so that was basically what was happening. I was bullied, and the name calling was about my race or about the fact that I went to a Catholic school, and it wasn't nice. Before I went to secondary school, I started getting anxiety attacks, worried that the bullying would continue. I'd be walking on my own and I was feeling scared and worried. And so nothing happened for a little while, and so it was fine. But somewhere along the path one day, name calling started, and it was really horrible. It was really rude and it wasn't nice, and it got me worried. It got me actually having panic attacks before I went to school, whether or not which way I should go, how I should get there, and whether or not they were going to hurt me.
What did you do to stop the bullying?
I told someone at school, and they spoke to the other students that were involved, which were at another school. And it took a little while, but something happened and it stopped. But it didn't stop my anxiety and my worry.
What things did you do that supported your mental health?
Well, to stop that worry, I decided that I needed to take action in my own hands. And that anxiety kind of decreased and put control back to me. And what I decided to do was to go to school a bit earlier, and it meant that I wasn't going to be going at the same time as anybody else. It meant that my worry was decreasing and I felt that I was in control and was better for it.
If you didn't get help, what do you think might have happened?
If I didn't speak to people at school, then maybe the bullying would have continued. Maybe I wouldn't have been as confident as I am now, and maybe I would have done things differently and I wouldn't be here talking to you about it. Maybe I'd still be really quiet about it. I feel like I'm a strong, confident person because I challenged that and changed it for myself.
What tips would you give to young people?
I think if you're faced by bullying, you need to tell someone. And if they're not hearing you, you need to tell someone else. Tell people that you feel confident about, that you trust, and that they will do something about it. So for me, I spoke to my teacher about it, the teacher that I felt I could talk to. It wasn't the head of year or anyone, it was the person that I felt I could trust. The other thing you could do is to take the control back into your hands. Think about what it is that you could do to change that situation for yourself. So for me, I decided that if I left home earlier, it means that I could do a bit of homework or I could chill out with my friends before school and chat with them. And I wouldn't see those bullies and it wouldn't make any difference to me because I would feel safer and be safer. And so that control was really positive for me.